Welcome to Create More Intimacy, a podcast for men. I'm Elisa Stoddard, and I help successful men stop chasing sex and start building real connection so they finally feel close, connected, and wanted again. You say you want your wife to be more affectionate and more engaged and more excited to be around you. But here's the question. If she matched your energy in the relationship, would she feel loved? Because what if she already is? What if her distance and her quiet and her lack of interest are just a reflection of the effort you've been giving? She isn't cold. She's just carrying it all. And the only way this changes is if you start carrying your half. Welcome to episode 30. If your wife matched your energy, would you feel loved? If your wife matched the energy you bring to the relationship, would you feel loved? Not what you say you bring, not your paycheck or the protection or your good intentions. I'm talking about your emotional energy. If she gave the same level of attention and curiosity and appreciation and emotional effort that you give to her, would that feel good? Or would you suddenly realize how quiet and disconnected that feels? Most men I work with don't set out to be emotionally absent. They are good men. They work hard and they take care of their families and they are successful by every other measure. And they think that that should be enough. But somewhere along the way, they stopped feeding the emotional side of the relationship. And then they start wondering why she seems distant, why she doesn't light up anymore, why she goes to bed early, why conversations turn into arguments, or why she says she feels alone even though you are right there. She's not cold, she's just carrying it all. And when you stopped engaging emotionally, she started compensating, and she became the emotional caretaker, the one who tracks how everyone is feeling. She manages the tone of the house, remembers the birthdays, smooths over fights, fills in the silence, and keeps the connection alive. And she's been doing it for both of you. And after years of carrying the weight of two people's emotional worlds, she's tired. You may think that she's pulling away, but what if she's just mirroring you? You can't expect her to keep nurturing a connection that you yourself are not showing up for. A marriage isn't a system where one person handles the logistics and the other person handles the emotions. It's a living thing that needs nutrients from both of you, attention and empathy and curiosity and appreciation from both of you. And when one person stops contributing, the whole thing starts to wither. A lot of men tie their worth to what they do for their families, like that they work hard and they show up and they provide stability. And I know you take pride in being the man people can count on. But somewhere along the way, a quiet belief starts to form. Because I provide, I've earned some peace at home. And it can sound like, I don't ask for much, or I just want her to appreciate everything I do. You may not say it out loud, but deep down, there's an expectation that your efforts should buy comfort. You hearing me? By what buying comfort means, guys? And it should bring gratitude and connection. And the problem is, marriage just doesn't work like a transaction. You can't buy emotional connection with your effort points. You can't deposit hours at work and withdraw affection later. Provision is about survival and connection is about thriving, and those aren't the same thing. Many men fall into this invisible trap where they think that they're participating in the relationship because they're providing for it. But what they're actually doing is outsourcing the emotional life of their marriage to their wife. She becomes the one who plans the date nights, remembers the small details, checks in when something feels off. She's the emotional leader. And guys, I'm telling you, it's not because she wants to necessarily, but someone has to. And you might feel like you've earned a little ease, that after everything you handle, that it's fair to expect her to carry the rest. But I'm telling you, that isn't partnership. That's delegation. And it's one of the biggest reasons that she feels alone. And you, for that matter. Providing for her isn't the same as being with her. When you stop showing up emotionally, or never started, when you stop being curious about her and you stop noticing her, you stop letting her know that she matters beyond what she does in the house or for you, she stops feeling seen, likely in the same way you feel unseen. And a woman who doesn't feel seen will eventually stop trying to be. When I talk to men about emotional connection, most say the same thing. Yeah, I'm really not great at that stuff, but she knows how I feel. And what they mean is, she should know I love her because of what I do, not because of what I say. But here is what they don't see. Love expressed only through duty feels hollow. You may think you're steady and reliable and easygoing, but what if that steadiness never translates into emotional engagement? What she experiences isn't calm, it's distance, and you might not realize it. But when she's the one initiating every meaningful conversation, when she's always the one trying to resolve conflict, when she's the one keeping things emotionally afloat, you are taking more than you are giving. And most men don't even notice they've become emotional takers. They call themselves laid back or the easy ones. But being easy or laid back doesn't mean you're being emotionally generous. It means you've stopped participating. When things start to break down, she might not pull away quietly. She might fight harder, and you might hear that as her complaining or criticizing or nitpicking you, and then translate that to mean that she's ungrateful or impossible to please. But what if that's not what's happening at all? What if she is fighting for you to show up? What if her frustration is a sign that she's been begging for connection and doesn't know how else to reach you? She's probably still showing up emotionally, just not for you anymore. She's doing it for the kids and for her friends and for everyone who responds when she gives that kind of energy. That's why you might notice her laughing with your daughter, or having long talks with your son, or being fully herself around other people, and then wonder where that version of her goes when it's time for just you two to be together. It's not because she doesn't have it in her anymore. It's because she's tired of offering it to a place where it's not received and reciprocated. When you say, she's changed, what you might really mean is she's stopped carrying the emotional load you were used to leaning on, and that's why it feels cold now. Because she put down what was never meant to be hers to carry alone. A marriage can't survive on one person's emotional energy. It's like trying to breathe with just one lung. It's hard. When she's been the only source of empathy, attention, curiosity, and appreciation, it burns her out. And honestly, it keeps you underdeveloped. You may have never realized this before, but empathy isn't just about being nice. It's about learning how to feel with someone, not just around them. And that's the skill that most men are never taught. You've been told to fix and provide and to push through, but not to feel, not to understand, and not to connect. And that's why you might find yourself frustrated when she says she feels alone, because you're thinking, are you kidding me? I'm right here. How can you possibly feel alone? It's because she can't feel you emotionally. Here's the part that does not get talked about enough. I know you are lonely too. You may not use that word, but that's what it is. When she stops centering you, when she doesn't look to you for validation or comfort or reassurance anymore, it just feels like rejection, and that is incredibly lonely. You've spent years being emotionally carried by her, feeling seen because she made you feel seen, feeling valuable because she believed in you. And when she starts to pull that back, and I want to be clear, it's not out of punishment, but it's out of feeling depleted, then that is when the emptiness hits you hard. But the truth is, you probably never learned how to show up emotionally in the first place. You've been showing up physically and financially and logistically even, but not emotionally. You haven't learned how to stay in hard conversations or to express what you actually feel, how to connect without needing to fix things. So when she stops carrying that part for you, you're left with a kind of silence that you don't know how to fill. And that hollow space you feel when she doesn't reach for your hand, when she doesn't ask what's wrong, when she doesn't respond with warmth in the way that she used to, it's not her withholding love. That's the space she used to fill with her emotional energy, and you just didn't notice until it was gone. Both of you are lonely, but for different reasons, rooted in the same imbalance, however. She's lonely because she's been giving without receiving, and you're lonely because you've never fully learned how to give in the way that truly creates connection. And the only way that changes is if you start to show up emotionally, and not to get something from her, but because it's part of becoming the kind of man who can sustain real love. Because if she matches your energy right now, you'll finally understand what she's been living with. And if you learn to match hers, that's where everything begins to change. There's another layer underneath all of this, and it's one that most men don't want to admit out loud. It's the quiet fear that if your wife starts living fully, if she becomes more confident or fulfilled, more independent, that she might not choose you. I've heard this fear a lot in different forms. Sometimes it sounds like, she doesn't need to work, we're fine financially. Or, when she started that new job, everything changed. She's distracted. She's not as affectionate. She doesn't have enough time for me. Or, she's gotten really into the gym lately, and honestly, I don't know what to do with that, and it makes me wonder if there's somebody else. On the surface, those sound like practical concerns. But what's really underneath this is fear. The fear that her world is expanding while yours feels like it's shrinking. I had a client once who said, when she was at home more, things felt calmer. Now she's busier and it just feels like she doesn't even care. But what he didn't realize was that she had been calm because she was suppressing herself, living small to keep the peace. When she started taking up space again, it looked like distance to him, but it was actually her coming back to life. Another client told me she's angry a lot, and I can't do anything right. And when we slowed down what was really happening, we saw that she wasn't angry for no reason. She was angry because she'd been carrying everything. The kids' emotions, the house, the relationship, for years. And he didn't see it. He mistook her exhaustion for criticism, her frustration for contempt, but really, she was saying, I'm drowning, please meet me here. When she complains or lashes out, it's not always rejection. Sometimes it's the only language she has left to ask for help. When she feels unheard or unseen, she's not trying to compete with you. She's trying to be with you. But if your identity as a man is built around being the one who leads and fixes and provides, then her growth may just feel threatening. Because if she's thriving without you, then what's your role? That's the insecurity that quietly drives a lot of distance in marriages. Men trying to keep their wives small so they can feel safe, and I know they don't outwardly set out to do that. Her wholeness isn't your competition, guys. It's your invitation. If she's expanding, you can either rise with her or retreat from her. If you rise, your marriage deepens. If you retreat, it withers. A strong man does not need his wife to be small to feel significant himself. He learns how to stand next to her, proud and grounded and steady, and championing her growth even when it stretches him. That's what emotional maturity looks like. It says, I love watching you become more of yourself, instead of, I miss you and need more of you. Because a woman who feels free to grow is also a woman who is capable of loving deeply. And you can learn to celebrate that instead of be afraid of it. You'll experience a version of her that's more connected and more open and more drawn to you than ever before. When a man's identity is built around being the provider and protector or problem solver, then it's easy to start interpreting everything she says as feedback about him. She's quiet, he assumes she's upset with him. She's stressed, he wonders what he did wrong. She's emotional, he feels accused or blamed. And that's how so many good men end up making everything about them without realizing it. It's not necessarily selfishness, it's conditioning. You've been trained to measure your worth by how well you're doing in her eyes. So if she seems off, then you panic. You want to fix it or defend yourself, but the truth is, a lot of what she feels has nothing to do with you. But when she has big feelings about missed opportunities, perhaps in her own life, when she grieves the parts of herself that she set aside to build this life with you, it doesn't mean she regrets her marriage. It means she's human. She can love you deeply and still mourn the versions of herself that she let go of along the way. Your job isn't to take that personally. It's to hold space for it. You don't have to fix it or explain it or turn it into a debate about how much you've sacrificed. You just have to listen long enough to understand her world, not to defend your own. That's what empathy actually is, choosing to understand her perspective even when you don't fully agree with it. When you stop seeing her emotions as criticism, you finally have a chance to see the woman behind them. That's where real connection starts, because here's the thing, she doesn't need you to make her happy. She needs you to be safe enough for her to be honest. And that's what she's been longing for, to be able to say, hey, I'm struggling, without you taking it as an attack, to share her disappointment without it turning into a fight, to show you her full self without fearing that you'll pull away. When you can sit in that space, when you can let her feel without needing to control or correct it, that's when she starts to trust you. And that trust becomes the doorway to intimacy and respect and connection. You want her to be emotionally available to you? Start being emotionally available to her. That's the moment where the whole marriage begins to heal. Because once you've stopped asking, what does this say about me? And start asking, what is she feeling right now? Then you shift from reaction to relationship. You stop defending and start understanding. And she stops feeling alone in the marriage. That's the power of reflection. Realizing it was never about fixing her. It was learning to show up as the man who can hold both of you. At this point, you may be wondering, so what do I do? If providing isn't enough, if she's tired of carrying the emotions, if my old ways of fixing things don't work, well, what does it actually mean to show up? Well, it starts with one shift. Stop trying to be impressive and start trying to be present. You've been measuring success in your own marriage by output, what you provide, what you solve, what you endure. But your wife isn't looking for a hero. She wants a partner, a man who sees her and is curious about her inner world, not just the version of her that keeps the house running or makes life easy for everyone else, including him. Championing her doesn't mean agreeing with everything or losing your own voice. It means learning how to hold both your strength and your softness when she shares something vulnerable. Your instinct might be to jump in and fix it. Guys, pause and try this instead. Listen for what she's really saying underneath those words. Because often what she's longing for isn't a solution. She wants connection. It's knowing she can bring her full self to you and still feel safe. Ask her about the things that matter to her, not just the things that make your life easier. Be curious about her dreams, her frustrations, the small moments that she hides because she's tired of being dismissed. And when she opens up, even if it feels uncomfortable to you, remind yourself that this is what closeness looks like. It's not about having the right words. It's about being steady enough to stay. When you start showing up this way, she might be able to relax. Her defenses could lower and her tone soften. And it's not because she's magically happier, but because she finally feels like she's not alone in the relationship. That's when real partnership begins. You want her to be affectionate and playful and open, right? She can only be that way when she feels emotionally safe, and safety isn't created by control or logic or perfection. It's created by presence, empathy, and consistency. I'm going to say that again. It's created by your presence, an increase in empathy, and you being consistent. That's what strong men build. And it's not through power or pressure, but through emotional steadiness. Being an emotionally strong man isn't about holding everything in. It's about holding things together. It's choosing to love her not just for what she's been to you, but for who she's becoming, and knowing that you're strong enough to grow right alongside her. That's leadership. That's intimacy. And that's what changes everything. Take care. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. If something in this episode hit home, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps more men find the support they need. And if you are ready to get help or take the next step, you'll find the link to book a free call in the show notes. I'll see you next time.